What's going on, my fellow storytellers? Welcome to Storytellers For Life. I am joined by a brand new author. Please welcome Sara de Waard.
Don't you dare show that to anybody else. We want it. He sent me that in the phone call, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Like I cannot believe it. But on one hand, I was like, I knew it was a good story. When I really let myself think, holy shit, this is gonna happen. And then it didn't. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I don't know, it's like my whole world crashed down. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to write a novel. I didn't have the same fear. It was gone. The fear was gone. I was like, I don't give a shit who likes this. I would love it if someone would, but I know someone will, but it doesn't have to be 100 people with $1 million. The fear was gone. That was the nice thing. The fear was gone until I submitted to publishers.
So you said the fear came back kind of when you started publishing, because that's the next big step, right?
Yes.
You made it through, you had your project fell apart. You had your moments where you were down and you're really struggling. You built yourself back up, and now it's like, I finished my story. Now, how do I get it out there?
Yeah.
So what was the plan for publishing? Like, what was going through your mind? You're like, okay, here's my plan. What am I doing?
Yeah. So what would happen is, I felt little victories. Like I always think of Terry Fox, like a Canadian hero. I'm always thinking like when I learned teaching it to my students that he didn't see the marathon, he didn't see running across Canada. He said he took it stop sign by stop sign, right? So I kind of felt my own little successes, like hitting page 100 on my novel. I remember tweeting about it because I'm like, I'm hitting page 100. I'd be done a script right now. And then I was like, oh my God, I still have like 100.
I am just getting started.
I don't even know what the rest is going to be about. And I remember thinking like, this is hard because I found screenwriting very enjoyable and very easy. Writing the novel was tricky and intense, right? But I was only doing it for me. So I had no one on my back. But here it was that I got to page 100. That was like my first stop sign. I was like, wow, I just finished a screenplay, technically. So I'm pretty proud of this moment. And then it became daunting because you're like, oh, another 22,000 words to go. And then when I finished, I was really excited. I have a lot of my old students like to follow me on Instagram and stuff because they're very sweet and we have a good relationship. And so I tweeted out, done my novel. I was like 44,000 words or 48,000 words, whatever it was. And I was like, I can't believe I just wrote that many words. And then when I'm learning about other writers who bust out like 2 of these a year, I'm like, oh, like, I don't know if I can ever do this again. My son did soccer. My son was playing in Western New York for soccer, high-level soccer. I'm on this little chair that I could find, freezing my ass off because it was indoor in like January. And he's training, and I was like typing my little story, and people are trying to talk to me. I'm like, no, please don't talk to me. Like, this is my hour. Like, get away from me.
This is my time.
I'm that antisocial mom on the soccer. I don't know anybody's name. I'm just like, I don't even know
amazing.
What my number is. Is that mine? I don't know. And then, so I just...
Is that mine?
Yeah. So then I just thought, you know what? I was really proud of finishing. And I tweeted it out to everybody. I let that simmer for a while. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to read it again. Read it again, found all my mistakes. I really liked it. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Like, I was very proud of it, I must say. And then I know this is going to sound strange because I had my daughter read it, but she's really well read. Like, this kid, she's 13, but I knew she was my target because it's mostly for like probably 17-year-olds. And I think even older people would like it. Like, I've gotten great feedback from men even. But she has read like Hunger Games 13 times, and she's reading like 1984, and she's read Hate You Give. Like, she's a well-read child, like way better than me. And I knew she was my target. And when she was reading it, and I was kind of slyly, I asked her to find any of my mistakes again. She found a few. So I told her I'd pay her like $100 to be my editor.
That's cool. Yeah.
She was like, make sure you put that in the credits. I'm like, oh.
My editor.
She's so funny. But the best feeling I got, and I tell you, I could have ended there, seeing her face for certain parts, because I was just trying to pretend I was doing something else, then I'd be watching her and her face would be lighting up, or she'd be like, huh, or she'd laugh at something, or or she started to cry at one point, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is why I write, like right here, this is why I write.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so fulfilling. And I know it's my daughter, and I know people would probably watch this and say, okay, Sarah,
Right.
that's your daughter. But she's a very honest child, and she would have no problem telling me it's shit. So I was just really excited. And then I thought, now I have to decide what I'm going to do. So I celebrated that for a little bit. And then came the time where I was like, okay, am I going to self-publish, or am I going to send it out? And so I had a girl I worked with, because I was teaching full time still, and she told me that her daughter would send me a link of this, like the publishing houses in Canada, or Ontario anyway, or Canada, I think,
Right.
that were accepting unsolicited, because I didn't have an agent. So there's only six, six of them. So I was like, oh, give this a shot.
Let's see what happens, right?
You hear other people have like hundreds of rejections. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
I get 6.
I got 6. I'm going to send it, because COVID was just starting, right? This was
Right.
last May when I did this.
Okay. Okay.
COVID was just starting. And I found the 6 that were accepting unsolicited manuscripts. And I sent it out. And pretty quickly, I got a couple of no's. One was saying, because of COVID, we're not doing anything. Another one just said, it just doesn't suit our style. They were just being polite, or it really wasn't suiting their style. I don't know. But it was a no, no, no. And then, so that was probably June. And then another no came up. So then anyway, I had 5 no's spread out a little bit. And then I was waiting on one. And so as I was waiting, and I knew that it made it into the pile, because I knew that the gatekeeper put it into the pile. The gatekeeper had liked it, and she said she put it in the editor's pile. I cannot promise you anything. I'm out of the equation. That's just the step, and good luck. So like 5 months went by, and I thought, this isn't happening. So I wasn't down, though. I really wasn't, because I thought, no shit, nothing happened. That's 6 companies. Like, I didn't want to be too hard on myself, but it did make me think, like, I knew in my head, I was like, of course you're not good enough to have it published yet. Like, what are you thinking again? So that self-doubt and that anger kind of crept back. But then I thought, screw it, self-publish it, because someone's going to like this book. I believed in it so much. I'm like, I know people are going to like this book. If nothing else, my hundreds of old students who knew I was chasing my dream, some of them will buy it. So
they'll read it for you.
Yeah. I got ready. I started designing the cover. I bought books on self-publishing on Amazon. I was ready to do a Kickstarter. I had developed all these rewards. I was making up ways that I could go into classrooms, blah, blah, blah. So I was ready to send that live.
You really had a big progress and process and plan going. Yes. Like, you weren't just like, I'm just going to send it out.
I was ready.
You were like going all in, yeah.
To put it out there. I was ready to start a Kickstarter. I had everything set and to go. But I thought, you know what? I don't know the rules. So I'm going to contact this publishing house, the 6th one, and just as a courtesy, just say, hey, no, I'm self-publishing. So I literally sent them an email and said, just as a courtesy, because, again, I was naive. I don't know this industry. And I said, as a courtesy, I just want to let you know that I'm self-publishing my novel. Thank you so much for the opportunity to submit to you. Whatever. I was kind. Like, you don't want to burn any bridges. And if it's not for them, it's not for them.
Absolutely.
And like an hour later, they said, please don't. We're on page 61 and we're loving it so far. And then I was like, uh-oh. Then I was like, oh, shit, here we go again. I thought I was going to throw up, because I was like, and then they're just like, please wait. They're like, well, we promised to get back to you because of COVID. Things are taking a while. We promised to get back to you in a week or so. That week was the worst, because it's like, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. But I was like, I can't help it. Like, I was like, they're on page 61. So they wouldn't have read that far. And then I'm like, and they had the time to email me. They could have said, yes, good luck self-publishing. But they said, please wait. And I thought, if in a week they say no, I'm going to spiral right down. Like, I was so nervous.
So like all those fears from your last that's kind of when they started surfacing again.
Yes. As soon as I'm this close and hopeful. Hope is my worst enemy, and for me personally, it terrifies me. And that week of hope, I was like, I'm gonna fall into a depression again if this is a no. And I was so mad at myself because I was like, a week ago I was so pumped about sending out this Kickstarter, and I was envisioning all this lovely stuff of going to schools, and now this could like really hurt me. So then it was like the last day before winter break for school, Christmas break, and I was just like, I'm like, it's the Friday before Christmas, and there's no way. And I checked it, and they said, please find attached and offer a contract to publish White Lies. And I was like, I was bawling, and like my daughter was there. But honestly, I was only excited for like 20 minutes, and then instantly I'm like, he's gonna change his mind. Sign that contract.
It just comes right back,
It was
just
so
comes
fast,
right back.
I
Wow.
gave myself maybe, I was excited for maybe 20 minutes. And I told my therapist this, I said, what the hell's wrong with me? I couldn't even celebrate. I was so worried about that contract because he said, Christmas break's going to be busy. So let's get down to it in the new year. But here's your contract. Yeah. All Christmas break, I was scared to tell anybody. And if I would tell them, it would be like this. I got an offer to publish White Lies. And I'm like, but he might change his mind, but he said talk in the new year, and maybe
right. You like downplayed it.
Everything.
Sharing it, yeah.
And people would be like, oh yeah, like we don't know how to react.
Oh, cool. I don't know.
That's when you said it. You were slashing it down. Like he's probably gonna die.
he's probably the wrong address. Yeah, he's probably gonna die tomorrow. So don't worry. Don't get your hopes up, guys.
Wrong address. It's probably another Sarah, and I was just like downplaying it, and that waiting, and I was so afraid that it was all gonna like disappear. Yeah. And then he got back to me and said, we had a great meeting, him and the accounting, and he's the editor, and his words about my work were the best words I've ever read. He was so happy with the work. And I'm like, this is a publisher for like a boutique. Like they've done Margaret Atwood's books. Like they're real publishers. And he's telling me that it's one of the best things he's read. And he said other authors have tried to tackle something like this, but he said it's so good, and they're just so pumped, and they're so behind it, and they're excited. And I was just like, oh my God, like I can't.
Amazing.
So that's my journey.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what's this process like now? Because so you got your publisher. He says, let's do it. What's been the process since
so that happened
last year there?
That happened like first week of January, I'd say that
right.
Or actually I signed the contract January 21st. Okay. So it's coming out probably spring 2022. Normally things would move faster, but because of COVID, it's taking
everything's a little slower.
Yeah. Yep. Right. So first step was signing the contract, and I get a bit of an advance, not much. And he said, that's not reflective of the work. He said it's just reflective of the atmosphere right now, the environment. And so I had to sign the contract first and find out about that. And I was a little nervous because I don't have an entertainment lawyer. I don't have an agent, but I'm kind of happy I don't, because everything's pretty much in my core right now. And he's going to edit it, and then he'll send me the manuscript, and then I fix it up. He said he just wants a bit more at the beginning. He said the rest, you probably have to work on just on the very beginning, and then the rest he loves. So I'm thinking it's not going to be a very big project.
Yeah.
In the meantime, they had me do a whole questionnaire about myself and about like, what I want on the back of the book, what I feel would be a good way to market the book if I have any ideas. Because now, even though I'm not self-publishing, authors are very much engaged in the marketing process. Yeah. Huge. Like when I told them that I do a side business of social media marketing and that I have some followers on Twitter, they were so happy because they said some authors have nothing.
Right.
And so I think they're pretty happy to know that I know how to do some of this, and that I will work my ass off, because this is my baby, right? I want it to be successful. So I did that questionnaire, and now I'm waiting, and I have to do a picture for the cover of the book. And so I'm going to get someone to help me like know how to do my makeup, and I'm going to get a photographer to come by, because I don't want it to just be like an Instagram photo with
Fair enough.
I want
Yeah.
it to be professional, right? Like
Fair
I'm
enough.
trying to
Yeah.
do it right. And
Mhm.
yeah, so then I do the rewrite or the fix up the manuscript, send it back to them. And then they're going to do a big book launch, and
Yeah.
they are hoping that it's not COVID because they don't want to do it virtually. So they would rent a space. They said they're going to book me for some press, like press and interviews. And what they do is they send out the book early for reviews from,
Okay.
and they try to submit it for rewards. And so that's really exciting because if I were self-publishing, that wouldn't be happening. So I found that really exciting because they submit it to all the places. They send it to Kirkus for Kirkus review. They send it to school libraries to consider. They send it out for all the Canadian awards. And then they like consider me for panels and
Hmm.
discussions and try to get me out there. And if it's their idea, they'll foot the bill for everything. And so that was all really exciting to me. And to know that, and they said that if I, for my book launch, if I can get a lot of hype around it and get a lot of people to purchase on that day, there's some kind of algorithm and it bumps it into a different category. So then you become on a whole separate level and a separate list that bumps you even to more reviews and bigger awards. And so they said to have a very successful book launch is a big deal. So I'll work
It's
on
a
that.
big part of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm just waiting now and I get to approve cover design, and they're very small. So very like like I can call them with any question, and they're wonderful. So that's where I'm at now. So I just wait.
That's awesome, Sarah. Congratulations. And
Thank
we
you.
do the full round of applause around here, right?
Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. So
Thank you.
now, yeah, after your whole journey, starting from, I just think you starting from that 10-year-old girl writing her first poem, bringing out those emotions in your teacher too.
Mm-hmm.
Finally now, you're going to have your own novel
Yeah.
fully published, do the review, like have reviews, go on interviews, everything. Amazing.
Crazy.
Amazing job, Sarah.
Thank you.
And yeah, like it's a hero's journey. It really is, right? You have your ups, you have your deep downs, and you've pushed through and persevered through everything, and now your dreams are coming true.
I know. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And sometimes I feel like I need to pinch myself because I can actually say with 100%, I believe in calling myself a writer before because you're a writer, either amateur or professional, right? I think you're a writer if you're a writer, maybe
Right.
not professional yet, but now I can actually say author. And even I feel like an imposter, 100% imposter syndrome is rearing its ugly head. I was in a big important meeting yesterday with a guy's mentoring me, and he had me in a support meeting with this girl who was teaching me about all kinds of things. And I'm like, I feel like I don't belong here. Like it's not even my wheelhouse, like screenwriting, but I'm kind of excited because maybe I can turn my own books into screenplays, or maybe if I become known in this atmosphere, maybe someone could say, hey, could you maybe turn this into a film, or, and it's just, it could really open up a lot of doors for me, even just going school to school and talking to kids about the book. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's the first step in something really big. And so
It,
I'm
it,
excited.
it, it's very much one of those moments I think where your life changes, right? Like now from now on, anything's open. The possibilities are endless, and that's where we as I think writers and artists and dreamers, we start dreaming heavy, right?
Yeah,
Like the
I
potential for
know.
everything, and this time they're not just gonna scrap it on you. So that's amazing. So let's talk about the book for a sec. Let's talk about the book itself.
Okay.
Title, release date, little synopsis. What are we looking at here?
Okay.
Only what you can share, of course. You don't
Yeah.
you don't have to read off the whole book for us, but
No, no.
whatever you feel like you can share.
Well, thanks for letting me chat about it. It's called White Lies, and it's being published by Cormorant, which is it's being published by DCB, which is an imprint of Cormorant, so young adult fiction. And my target's probably like 17 to 35, somewhere in there, like a Hunger
Hmm.
Games kind of audience. So pretty big range. But it's about a young girl who has suffered really intense trauma when she was younger, and she has the backlash of that. And she's just really, it's just her journey through high school and her own recovery. And then she has her first crush. So it's how she approaches that with all of this internal conflict and the past trauma, kind of how it imposes on her future, and trying to do the work and trying to be a teenage 16-year-old and trying to live with an alcoholic father and a mother who's in prison. So it's pretty dark, and it's not a pick me up, and it's very character driven.
Right,
You know,
right.
but it is
Well, like we've been
hopeful.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is hopeful at the same time. And I really
Right.
was in love with the main character, and the romance is super sweet because it's two kids who are, well, you know, pretty messed up and just trying to do the right thing and be kind to each other, you know. So um
Hmm.
yeah, so it's coming out in they think spring 2022, depending on how things go through COVID, and it'll hit shelves. They like to work with independent little booksellers, so another bookshop it'll be
Right.
selling at, and I'll have links to it and everything once it comes live and to the launch and things. So, but yeah, I think it deals pretty heavily with teenage mental health because I've been teaching intermediate, like grade 7 and 8, for a few
Yeah.
years, and I don't think kids get enough help or credit at that age. You know, they are deep individuals who deserve a lot of respect. And sometimes they're in very tough situations and having to deal with life. And I feel like a lot of people don't really
Yeah.
understand how deep their emotions are. And I've read some books that try to tackle that, but it's just not giving them enough credit. It's patronizing them a bit too much and making it very Disneyfied when, you know, these kids, it's tough. Like you have cutters, you have like suicidal thoughts, you have kids who are going home to very abusive situations and not talking about it because they don't know any different. So it's an underrepresented part of society, I think, and mental health is very important. And I think as an
Right.
educator, I just wish we had more money for mental health because I'd say at least 2 or 3 students every year I teach, I can totally see need it. And if they don't get it, it's going to be a really rough future
Hmm.
for this kid. So I thought if I can write a book that opens more people's eyes to it, then that would make me feel really proud. And when I do the launch, I'm going to go to some like mental health institutions and talk with young girls about mental health and maybe how they can write to get out of that, or even screenwrite. You know, I have a lot of plans and hopes and envisions that of ways that I can help people, help young teenagers who are having these struggles, because you don't get to choose your parents. And I've seen a lot of sad stories with these kids, Matt. And you know, it's heartbreaking because there's very little you can do, and I lose a lot of sleep at night for these kids. So I'm hoping in some way I can help them through this. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome. Well, and it's amazing too that you're using not only your story to, it obviously uplifts and inspires you. It brings a lot of joy and hope and excitement into your life, but you're also now expanding that. You're not just saying, "Oh, it's about me done winning."
Right. No.
You're going out and also helping others and expanding that effect.
Mhm.
And that isn't that really what stories are all about? It's about touching other people, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what we get out of it as the writers or as the individuals, but how we can affect and change the lives of others. And like you said, opening understanding, right, to something that sometimes people don't really understand, like how much help, kids need and how, like you said, deep their emotions are.
Yeah.
um,
Because
a
I've worked.
story like that can open
Yeah,
their eyes, a lot of people's eyes.
it's true. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of amazing teachers, but one or two who just
Hmm.
they approach them with insincere, like not very sincere, or maybe they just, I don't think they truly understand what this kid's going through. So that's right. Because even in the book, I talk about the teachers, and I don't talk about them in a mean way, but I talk about a simple thing like when I'm putting kids, as a teacher, when I'm putting kids into a group or with a partner, how devastating that can be to a kid who just like can't be around people or can't, you know, communicate or can't relate, right? And all I'm doing as a teacher is trying to teach them how to work together and blah blah blah. But in that moment, what's going through that kid's head, right? They hate you. And so it's just hopefully that's what the book does, is teach people that there's a lot going through some people's heads, and just be kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? What's next for you? What are you thinking? Is
Well,
there a different story you have kind of in the back of your mind that you're
I
thinking
do.
like, oh, maybe I could approach that next?
Yeah, I have two things, well, three things. One thing, I'm starting a series Bible for a television show because I just woke up with an idea the other day and I thought, you know what, this has a shot. So I started a series Bible and I'm putting that together, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, maybe pitch it or something. And I'm at a page, I'm about halfway through my second novel. I took a script from a long time ago, a young adult dystopian story, and I'm on page 100 for turning that into a novel. And I also want to turn that Blizzard one into a novel. So those are the things I'm doing right now.
So lots ahead, lots ahead. You're not just resting on your laurels.
So,
There's a lot of work to do and a
yeah.
lot of stories to tell. Is there any last message you'd like to share with any of these storytellers who are young, who are just getting started in writing and filmmaking, maybe writing scripts? Is there any message you just want to share with them? Final message.
Well, I would say sometimes it's okay to rely on other people and to listen, because it's not very often we're saying it to ourselves. Very often the opposite, that we're hard on ourselves, hardest on ourselves, lacking compassion for ourselves. And sometimes when people are kind to us or saying something motivational to us, we might be quick to shove it off just because it's really hard to hear and really hard to take. And those are parts of you trying to protect yourself.
Right.
But try really hard to hear the good stuff and try really hard to celebrate the steps, because it really is like a needle in the haystack kind of thing. So any little step closer is actually a big step, and you need to just congratulate yourself and celebrate the small wins, because if you don't, you're going to be like 10 years into it and realize that 10 years have just gone by and you missed all those chances to celebrate when you could have. So, and try to think about what your real goal is and what the real prize is, because it might not be what you think it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again, Sara,
Thanks,
for coming and sitting down with us, sharing your story, the good parts, you know, some of the tougher parts, and just being so open and honest with us. I think so many storytellers are going to be able to listen to this, relate to your story, learn from your journey, and be able to go on to create their own stories and hopefully also affect other people's lives.
I hope
so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, Matt. It was really great.
White Lies will be on store shelves in 2022.
That's right.
Excellent. Let's make sure we pick up our copies, everyone. Let's make this launch huge.
Yes.
Help Sara out a little bit there. All the best in the future, Sara.
Thank you, Matt.
If you want to continue to follow Sara's journey as a storyteller and an artist, you can find her social media links down in the description below. Go ahead, head on down and give her a follow. And if you're a storyteller who has a story to share, I want to talk to you. Whether you're just starting out your career, whether you're many, many years in, if you have a story that you think will educate, can inspire, can uplift, can strengthen, can encourage your fellow storytellers, then I want to talk to you. Don't hesitate. You can find my email on the YouTube channel page. Also, you can find my social media down in the description below as well. Thank you again for watching this video and taking the time to sit down and hear Sara's story. Most importantly, thank you again to Sara for coming and sitting down and sharing her story. Huge, huge thank you. And if you want to see what else is going on the channel, head up to the next video. Have a good one, take care, and I'll see you over there.